Xiaomi is a company that has been setting the bar for high-performing Android smartphones relative to their prices like the Redmi phones and the Poco phones, and they're starting 2021 really strong with the Redmi 90. Hello world, my name is Coco Martech and this is my review of the Redmi 90. Welcome to an episode of
TT with Coco Martech.
So let's start our video with the unboxing. The unboxing is quite simple. You have a plain white box with the phone and the 6000 mAh battery being featured here. I also ordered the orange variant, but weird enough the color here is blue. At the side, Xiaomi is featuring the access to the Google Play Store since we all know what happened to Huawei. So yes, you do have Google Play Store with the global version. Inside, of course, you have the phone, a warranty card, a user guide, a transparent silicone case, a Type-C cable, a 22.5 watts charger brick but it only supports 18 watts fast charging, weird, and a screen protector that is already installed on the phone. At the top of the phone, you have a microphone, a 3.5mm headphone jack port, speakers, and an IR blaster. At the left side, you have the dual nano SIM card tray with 4G LTE connectivity and a dedicated micro SD card slot, which you can expand the memory up to 512GB. At the bottom, you have another microphone, the USB Type-C port, and another stereo speakers. At the right side, you have the volume rocker and the power button, which also acts as the fingerprint scanner. So, the fingerprint scanner is really easy to access since it's in our muscle memory to always touch the power button. In terms of speed, it's not super fast. There's a quick delay when touching the button to open your phone, but it's reliable, meaning it's going to recognize your fingerprint, but again, it's not super fast. You also have a face scan unlock which is quick, but it's not as secured as your fingerprint scanner. At the back, we have the gorgeous plastic finishing. There's a texture on the back, so it's not slippery and not a fingerprint magnet. You also have the Redmi branding embossed on the back. I like the design, especially this orange one. For me, it's not cheap looking and it's actually better to use the phone without the case. You have colors to choose from like the carbon gray, this one the sunset orange, the twilight blue, and the ocean green. At the front, it has a 6.53-inch Full HD Plus dot drop display, IPS LCD screen with 1080 by 2340 pixels, an aspect ratio of 19.5 by 9, 83.4% screen-to-body ratio, a pixel density of 395 pixels per inch, and it's a Corning Gorilla Glass 3. It's a good 1080p screen, so you can obviously watch 1080p videos in YouTube, Netflix, and other social media platforms. Details are sharp, colors are punchy, vibrant, and the blacks are deep. So watching with black bars will be going to be a nice experience. The one thing I don't like is that it doesn't get so bright since the brightness is only up to 400 nits. So watching outdoors is going to be challenging. This is actually a problem for budget smartphones, but since most of the people are more or less indoors right now because of the pandemic, it's not going to be a big deal for a lot of consumers. I love the screen display, especially for the price, since phones in this price range are only up to 720p screen displays. If Xiaomi made the screen with high refresh rate like 90 or 120 Hz, then for me the competition will be over. You also have teardrop notch style with slim bezels at the sides and a fairly thicker bezel at the chin. The Redmi 90 has an 11nm Qualcomm Snapdragon 662 for the processor and Adreno 610 for the GPU. You can either have a 4GB of RAM with 64GB of internal storage or 6GB of RAM with 128GB of internal storage. I suggest buying the 128GB variant since you're just going to add little money to upgrade and get the double storage with extra RAM. Not a sponsored video, anyway, just giving my advice. Well, if you buy the 64GB variant, you can expand the memory with a micro SD card anyway, so either way, it's still going to be a good buy. I had no issues with lag, especially with basic tasks like swiping through the home screen, opening apps, and just basically using the phone in general. It's a fast phone, especially for the price. Again, Xiaomi is known for creating fast budget phones. Also, with more extensive tasks like multitasking and playing games, they're going to be smooth experiences. Playing Mobile Legends with high graphics settings gave me no lags and frame drops, even with 5v5 clashes. Same goes with Wild Rift and Call of Duty, high graphics settings, and still no lags and frame drops. Although it sometimes heats when playing, it's really amazing how phones, especially the budget ones, handle games as smooth as the Redmi 90. It's a testament that even though your phone is very affordable, it doesn't take away the great experience of playing your favorite games as compared to the budget phones years ago, where they're really laggy and slow. Anyway, Genshin Impact is also playable, but you have to set the settings or the graphic settings to low or lowest if you want the smoothest experience. If you're on a budget and you want a smooth gaming experience, especially with the amazing 1080p screen display and loud stereo speakers, then the Redmi 90 is a no-brainer, recommendable phone. Speaking of speakers, as we have discussed before, you have two stereo speakers, one at the bottom and one on top. This is an underrated feature of the phone since basically every aspect of the phone is high quality, but I really do appreciate the sound quality of the speakers of the Redmi 90. Anyway, here is a sample sound or speaker test for you to judge. In terms of Geekbench 5, the Redmi 90 scored a single core of 309 and 1348 for the multi-core. I know Geekbench 5 doesn't tell the whole story, but it's still a good measurement of how fast a phone is based on simulated tasks. The Redmi 90 scored high, especially for the multi-core, so the phone really does a great job for more complicated tasks, and it really shows in person. Next, let's talk about what I think is the greatest asset of this phone, which is the battery. The Redmi 90 has a massive 6000 mAh battery. You will definitely last a day even if you play a lot of games, whether Mobile Legends, Wild Rift, Call of Duty, or even Genshin Impact, and you'll even last a day and a half or 2 days if you're just going to do some small social media browsing or watching a couple of YouTube videos or Netflix videos. It eats around 3% of battery when playing Mobile Legends and around 6% for a game of Wild Rift. If your main concern is battery, then the Redmi 90 should definitely be one of your options. In terms of charging speed, the Redmi 90 supports 18 watts fast charging. 30 minutes of charging will give you around 45%, and 0 to 100% is around an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so before we review the cameras, let's talk about the software. The Redmi 90 is running MIUI 12 on top of Android 10. I really like the MIUI skin. It's clean with an app drawer. You have Google News when you swipe from the left of the home screen. Just so you know, when the phone was really brand new, it had 19.1 gigabytes of the 64 gigabytes used because of the pre-installed apps and of course the system, which is eating a chunk of storage. So I really recommend buying the 128 gigabytes, even if you can expand the memory up to 512 gigabytes. Lastly, let's talk about the cameras. The Redmi 90 has 4 rear lenses, a 48 megapixel f1.8 main wide lens, an 8 megapixel 2.2 ultra wide lens, a 2 megapixel f2.4 macro lens, and a 2 megapixel f2.4 depth sensor. You also have an LED flash for the rear. For taking selfies, you have an 8 megapixel f2.1 selfie camera. For taking photos, the Redmi 90 overall takes saturated, contrasty, and sharp photos. Thanks to their AI, grass will be greener and skies will be bluer. It has great dynamic range, color balance is accurate, and there are enough details to see in the shadows. For the ultra-wide lens, The corners are noisy as compared to the center of the photo since the phone fixes the lens distortions, so there is software adjustments to the ultra-wide shots. But they're still good overall with good colors and details like the wide lens, but of course the wide lens will perform better. You also have a 2x option when taking photos, but since it doesn't have a dedicated telephoto lens, the phone will take a digitally cropped photo to simulate a telephoto shot. But you're still okay since taking 2x zoom will use the 48 megapixel camera and then digitally cropping. Speaking of 48 megapixel, when taking photos using the main lens, the phone in default will take 12 megapixel photos, but there's a dedicated settings to take the full 48 megapixel if you want more details. But for me, I don't see any significant difference with the 12 megapixel. For the selfie camera, they're very detailed even though it's just 8 megapixels, but the dynamic range suffers especially in harsh conditions like against the light shots, and it's slow to capture photos during indoors since taking a photo then shaking a bit will produce out of focus shots. For low light, the night mode does a great job of balancing the image. The lighting fixtures are properly exposed while maintaining the overall quality of the images with good contrast, detail, and colors. Noises are also kept minimum for the night mode, and Redmi performs well in terms of creating a great image in general for the wide lens. The ultra-wide and 2x performs worse of course since the night mode only works for the main wide lens.
This is the selfie video test for the Redmi 90, and it can take up to 1080p 30 frames per second, and for the 1080p quality I think it's okay. There's a slight magenta hue to the skin tones as I'm seeing right here on the screen. So comment down below what do you think of the video quality of the selfie camera. This is the main rear lens video test for the Redmi 90, and it could also take up to 1080p 30 frames per second just like with a selfie camera, and you can do up to 6x zoom digitally, so there's no dedicated telephoto lens. So if you're going to take tighter shots like this one, it's going to be like this quality. So you can't really switch from the main rear lens going to the ultra wide lens for taking video. So if you want to take a video using the ultra wide lens, you have to stop the video and take another one for the ultra wide lens. So let's do that, but let's just test the stabilization first. So there's no stabilization really installed on the lenses, so it's going to be a little shaky even though I'm really walking really slowly. Anyway, let's test the ultra wide lens. So this is the ultra wide lens for taking videos. Again, 1080p 30 frames per second, same as the other lenses. So if you want a perspective on how wide the cameras can take the video, we're standing on the same position, at the same position. And if you're going to switch back to the main lens, this is going to be the field of view. Main wide lens, and this is the ultra wide lens. So you can see how wide the ultra wide lens is.
If you want to buy the Redmi 90, the 64GB variant is priced at 6,990 pesos or around $147 and the 128GB is priced at 7,990 pesos or around $166. I'll be putting an affiliate link in the description box down below just in case you want to order the phone online. Overall, the Redmi 90 is a great phone for the price. It has a good 1080p screen with a long-lasting battery that supports fast charging. It has great stereo speakers and a capable processor. Is the Redmi 90 a good phone to recommend? Yes, it is. So that's it for this video. Please consider giving this video a like and a thumbs up, and click on your notification bell for more tech unboxing and review videos. My name is Coco Martech. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.